I think we need to spend more time telling our kids about how growing up is bullshit. Let's talk about it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Better Lait Than Never. Shit.
I'm not actually inside a women's prison at the moment.
The horniness just went up to like 11.
Good afternoon.
At least say a big you to Nick.
Tyler Yaremchuk must go to Cinco de Mayo.
Ty, why won't you kiss me?
Better late than never with bagged milk.
Better late than never with bagged milk.
It's better late than never.
Better late than never.
Better late than never.
Fight me if you don't agree.
Long live Arby's. Welcome. Wednesday means fresh episode of BLTN is here. Hello, welcome. Lots to talk about today, and we shall get to it all. But first, what was I talking about? Explaining to our kids that getting older is bullshit. If you hear me kind of go like, for no reason on the podcast today, it's because once again, I'm having ridiculous back issues that I have no explanation for. It's so embarrassing. At least if I had a story like, oh yeah, I had a fucking wheelbarrow full of bricks and I was doing a portage somewhere, something I'd be like, well, that makes sense. You gotta lift with your knees, bro. No, I just woke up like this. Now I can barely move. If you've been here a long time, you know that I've done podcasts laying on the floor before because of my shitty back, and I'm not above doing it again. So if you hear me kind of like grumbling and groaning today, that's probably what it is. So when it comes to those of you with kids, just be like, hey, enjoy your young bodies now, because when you're old, everything falls apart. All of it is bullshit. It's bullshit. Anyway, got to start off with a couple of just like some personal items. Is anybody else excited about the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight? That's happening Friday night on Netflix, and I am personally more excited about a boxing match than I have been in quite some time. Normally, I don't care about boxing at all. But back in the day, I'm old enough to remember when Mike Tyson fights were an event, and even though he's now 58 years old, I'm sitting here watching training videos of him doing things that he used to do as a much younger man and wondering if he's going to kill somebody in 2 days' time. Of course, Jake Paul, 27 years old. A lot of people think he's going to win because Mike Tyson's 58. He's old and dusty. What can a 60-year-old do? Well, if you're watching the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson lead-up documentary that Netflix loaded ahead of the fight, it's fun, man. It's fun. And Mike Tyson says some things that are terrifying on there. He goes something like, here, Satan, you do it for me.
All right, I got you. Me and Mike go way back. He says something like, listen, Jake Paul is a manufactured killer. He learned to be a killer. Essentially, he's doing that part from Batman when Bane talks about being molded by the darkness. Mike Tyson is the darkness. I think that's the point he's getting at. He says, you are a manufactured killer. I am a natural-born killer. You don't know the difference in what that means.
So ultimately, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but, me that watched Mike Tyson destroy people in the 90s is hoping for it again. He just needs to land one. But then I think there's different rules on this fight. Like, doesn't Jake Paul get to wear headgear? Mike Tyson doesn't. I read that a while ago, but that could just be like, I'm at a point where I don't believe anything on the internet anymore. I just like, everything is fake news to me at this point, it feels like. So I don't know what to believe. I'm going to Google this real fast and see if I can find it. Mike Tyson. Okay. Jake Paul fight rules. Let's see if that has changed. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight rules. Let's see what we got here. The event is at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Of course, it's in Texas. The card for boxing by blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Although Serrano versus Taylor, the fight before, I think there's some people, from what I understand, are more excited about that. That's the two best female boxers on the planet going at it. Kind of adds legitimacy to the whole thing, doesn't it? Fight rules. The fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is sanctioned by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, includes several significant conditions, blah, blah, blah. Both fighters will wear 14-ounce gloves instead of the standard 10-ounce gloves. Okay, well, that's going to protect both of them from getting their heads caved in, specifically Jake Paul, I imagine. Well, and also Mike Tyson, again, he's an old man. I'm worried about his bones turning to dust. Additionally, each round will last 2 minutes rather than the usual 3. The fight will consist of 8 rounds instead of the standard 10 to 12. Is that it? So there's no like, oh, that's it. So again, I got fooled by the internet again. That's why I just can't read anything on the internet. Maybe even this one's lying to me. What the fuck do I know? Anyway, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about that, and I'm also excited that a bunch of you reached out to me over the last handful of days and just said, hey man, I really like the new look of the podcast. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you see it when you download today's episode. I just made a change. I was bored. I felt like something new. For the last probably 2 years, I would imagine, I had those like bright pink bubble letters that kind of had the blink font in them a little bit, and I loved it. Kennedy made those for me, but I just got, I need change sometimes. So that's why I went to an illustrator and had something done a little bit differently. It is a man with a bag of milk for a head. That's obviously me. I got a banner that says Better Lait Than Never, and there's 2 birds on my shoulder that are supposed to be symbolic of
This guy and
This guy.
Does it come through? I don't know. I'm trying something different. Anyway, I was super pumped to see that there was a handful of you that reached out and said, this is way better. It's more your style. I love it. And that was really encouraging because I didn't want to make a deal of it. Look, new branding, new this, new that. Like, I just wanted to quietly do it and see if anybody noticed. So to those of you who did notice and did reach out, I appreciate that feedback probably more than you know. It's one of those things where, I don't know, I'm not a graphic designer. I just had an idea in my head and it kind of came together, kind of worked out with the illustrator I worked with, and I thought they did a really good job. I kind of went outside of kind of the normal means of making things at the Nation Network, and I did my own thing, and I think it turned out pretty well. I really do. Whoops. Got a little blink happening here. Why is there music playing on my phone? I didn't press that. Great jam, though. All right, stop. There we go. So if you get a chance to check out the new logo today, the new branding, let me know what you think. I think it's pretty good. And so far I've had some feedback that suggests the same, but really, what the hell do I know? At the end of the day, you know, I'm not smart enough to do any of this. I just think it looks cool. Speaking of things that have changed, a lot of people this week, I don't know how many, I couldn't give you a number, I couldn't give you a total, I couldn't even give you a guess. But what I can tell you is that there's a lot of people that bailed on Twitter this past week and have moved back over to Blue Sky. I originally started a Bag Milk account. I'm at Bag Milk on Blue Sky, by the way. At Bagged Milk. I got it. I was in early enough, or I just got Bag Milk. So I moved over there probably 18 months ago. I got an invite code from somebody and they said, come check this out, play around. So I got an invite code. I set up Oilers Nation's account at that point too. And then I kind of forgot about it. So then when I saw that everybody was migrating over, not everybody, some people were migrating over this past week, I figured, well, might as well time to lean into it. And I got to say, it feels like old Twitter. If you were around, say, 2012 on Twitter before it got super politicized and before Elon fucked it up and before everything turned into a hateful mess on there, again, like there's still plenty of fun to be had on Twitter. I have a blast. I just mute people. Not as much as Liam, as it turns out. He had over 300 people muted. I just have fun on there and I kind of ignore what I don't like and I consume what I do like. And that's kind of my approach to Twitter now. But on Blue Sky, it's you see what you follow. There's no like, hey, you might want to check out this. And it's just it's made for a fun, nostalgic experience because it's Jack Dorsey's platform. He was one of the founders of Twitter. The thing basically works exactly like Twitter used to and does still to some extent. So if you're over there, Oilers Nation is on there as well. I'm on there at Bag Milk. The rest of the Nation Network is on there. I set up all the accounts for our other websites, including Daily Faceoff. That one is over there as well. So if you're into more content or you just want a different place, our goal here ultimately is, the articles are going to go up. Yeah, we're going to share that stuff, but we want to make it a little different because if you follow us on different platforms, we want to serve you different content. So check us out over there. And speaking of content, I had this idea and I'd love your help. You can tweet at me. You can what is a Blue Sky post called? You can bluey me.
How dare you? This is supposed to be a family show, and you go out and drop that nonsense.
Let me know your take on this. I had an idea the other day, and I'm talking about it at my house for a bit I want to try. And I got zero support from me missus on this. Zero. I'm talking none. To the point where she literally ignored me as I spoke. Now, after 3 years together, she kind of has gotten used to my nonsense, generally speaking. And for the most part, she just kind of goes, let him have his tangent and he'll settle down later. This time, she just straight up ignored me. She was not engaging. She didn't want to hear it. She said she wasn't going to help me. So I want to know what you think. My question I asked her was, and it was a simple one. I live in the west end of Edmonton. The Costco near the River Cree would probably be the closest one for me. So my question I had was, how many days do you think I could go consuming only Costco hot dogs before I got tired of it? Waz, if you're listening to this, clip this. I think this would be an interesting social clip for everybody who loves a Costco hot dog. So I like, hear me out here. If all I can eat is Costco hot dogs, wake up, I'm like, I'd like some breakfast. Costco dog. I'm at Nation HQ. I'm about to record ON Radio or Real Life. I'd love some lunch. Costco dog. Dinner. Costco dog. Late night snack. Costco dog. How many days could I go before I get absolutely bored, absolutely over the idea of this stupid bit? As I was thinking about it, again, with no participation from my significant other, zero participation, I decided I could probably make it 3 or 4 days max. Though, I think if I really stretched it, I could go a full week. Now, the logistics on a bit like this become important. I'm not going to go to Costco every time I need a hot dog. It's just not going to happen. Who has time for that? I think the approach would have to be going into Costco and buying like 10 to 12 hot dogs at a time, knowing that you're going to need those for the upcoming days. Are they going to be as fresh? No. Do you have to reheat and probably re-steam the bun? Absolutely you do. So I'm encouraging you to let me know what you think. How long do you think I could go consuming only Costco hot dogs? That's all I get to eat. 3-4 days is probably my max, I'm thinking. But I think if I really commit to it, maybe starve myself, I could go a full week. What do you think you could do? If you're listening to this right now, chances are you have had and will continue to consume Costco hot dogs. How many days do you think you could go consuming nothing else? Again, water, coffee, drinks, like that's all good. I'm just talking about your solid foods here. Your solid foods. I'm eliminating things like smoothies as well. You can have drinks. You can have a soda. You can have a little juice, little orange juice. You can have your coffee. But I don't want you to be like, oh, well, okay, I'll just eat those hot dogs for dinner, and then for lunch I'll make smoothies out of strawberries and shit. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. That's cheating. That's cheating on my bit. So what's the answer? Do you think I could go more than 3 or 4 days consuming only Costco hot dogs? Again, when I thought about the logistics, I said to her, would you come help me pick up 10, 12 hot dogs at a time? And she said, no, I will not go with you. What?
I think we both know the answer to what has to happen here.
What's that?
Get rid of her.
Well, that's a little excessive.
Get rid of her.
Well, see what the audience says. See what my friends say. I think I can do it. 3-4 days? I got this. I think I've got this. With your support, I will do this bit. If you think this would be a funny thing for me to do, I will do the bit, and I will map out the journey. I will take photos of every dog. I will complain. I will let you in on the complaints. I will go live on Instagram or wherever. Consume a dog. We'll talk about it. Anyway, I just thought it would be an interesting bit. And I really, really want to know. I really, really want to know what you think of this. Because if you think it's a good idea, I'm doing it. I'm going to have to figure out when I do it. Because like you guys say, yeah, let's do this. You should do it. I think it's funny. We'll pay attention. We'll support you. I'm not doing this when I'm on the nation vacation at the end of the month. No way. So I have to pick my spots here. I have to pick my spots. I have to have a week where if my stretch goal is a week where I can survive on nothing but hot dogs. Is that the first, maybe second week of December before we go into the holiday season? Listen, I'm already going to be destroying my body with what I consume in December anyway. That fucking Christmas elf is going to appear in my house pouring rum in all my drinks. I know he will. Something to think about. In the meantime, let's get to the news. The news is brought to you by Star Mechanical. Star Mechanical is one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operating plumbing and heating businesses. They have been working within the community for over 20 years, and many of the homes built in Edmonton over the last 2 decades have had their plumbing and heating systems installed by Star Mechanical. If you visit them at starmechanical.ca, they will help you keep your home running smoothly. I'm going to start off the news with the exact same place I started the news last week with Connor McDavid. Of course, Connor McDavid was supposed to be out 2-3 weeks. He missed 9 days, came back, was a little bit quiet in the first game, fine. Then he's really started to pick it up here. 7 points in his last 2 games, including 3 against Vancouver, a goal and 2 assists, and a goal and 3 assists last night against the New York Islanders. The Oilers almost fumble-fucked that game away. Ilya Sorokin was very annoying. Had it not been for him, this would have gone to overtime, but that is beside the point. With the assist he got on Leon Draisaitl's OT winner, Connor McDavid now sits at 999 points, 1 away from 1,000. This is a big deal. This is one of those milestones that is not normal. If he gets a point tomorrow against the Nashville Predators, which, let's go out on a limb and assume he's going to get one, that will bring him to 1,000 points. He will be behind only Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Mike Bossy. He would be the 4th fastest player of all time to reach 1,000 points. Gretzky, absolute freak, did it in 424 games. Lemieux did it in 513. Mike Bossy did it in 656. Tomorrow is game 659 for Connor McDavid. If he does this in the next, tomorrow will be 659 in the next 23 games. Do you think Connor McDavid is really going to take 23 games to get 1 point? Of course not. If he gets to 1,000 points tomorrow against the Nashville Predators, McDavid will have gotten the job done, meaning getting to 1,000 points faster than some pretty incredible names in NHL history. Players like Peter Stastny, he did it in 682. Yari Curry did it in 716. Sidney Crosby, 757. Jaromir Jagr, 763. And Oilers assistant coach Paul Coffey did it in 770 games. This is not one of those milestones that we should ignore and being like, Connor doing Connor things. This is one of those ones where we got to appreciate a little bit. This is greatness. This is, and I quote from Leon Draisaitl, we're not talking about greatness. We're talking legendary. He's the greatest player to ever play in my books, end quote. Do you want to hear that again? I'll yell at you. We're not talking about greatness. We're talking about legendary. He's the greatest player to ever play in my books. Signed, Leon Draisaitl. This is unbelievable to me. And it's another opportunity for me to remind every one of you, and myself included, because sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm spoiled. I'm just like, we get to watch him every night. It's a good time. Enjoy it. What he's doing is not normal shit. What he's doing is so beyond normal that we have to take a moment to absolutely appreciate what he's doing. Connor McDavid is an animal in the best possible way. So enjoy it. I'm going to guess he gets it tomorrow night against Nashville. Chances are, maybe. Or it would also be kind of funny if he did it on Saturday in Toronto and be like, ha ha, you're never going to sign him. I'm still betting the farm. All of Gregor's money, by the way. that he is going to sign an extension next summer, just like Leon Draisaitl did this year. Remember when everybody said there's no way Leon Draisaitl signing an extension in Edmonton, then he signed a max term deal? Well, I'm guessing Connor does the same thing. Those two are boys. Back to last night's game. Connor McDavid, 4 points. It looked like he could have probably had 6 or 7, but again, Ilya Sorokin is elite. And Connor, when he was asked about it after the game, I thought his quote was pretty hilarious. We'll do this one.
I wanted to get it over with tonight, McDavid said following Tuesday's win over the New York Islanders. Nights like that, I don't want to come off the ice. I would have liked to get it done tonight, but a 5-point night is not, well, it's not something you do every day. McDavid added, I'd like to not bring it there, meaning Toronto. I'd like to not bring it to Toronto, and it's another big game for us against Nashville.
He wants to get this done at home. He wants to get it done at home. And I think the fans deserve it, and he will get an ovation. Probably would in Toronto, to be honest. Again, this is not normal shit. But it would be nice if he got it done in front of the Edmonton fans tomorrow against Nashville. Leon Draisaitl added, he's not a guy that likes the show about it all. He likes the end product of it, and he puts his work into it every single day. I'd be lying if I said he doesn't want to achieve 1,000 points as soon as possible. That's human nature. But he's not in it for the show. This isn't a normal hockey player here. This is not a normal thing we're watching. So please enjoy it. Whether he hits it tomorrow night, Thursday against Nashville, or Saturday against Toronto, or Montreal on Monday, or Ottawa on Tuesday, it doesn't matter. Just enjoy it because the guy is an absolute freak. And I say that in the best possible way. I really, really do. I don't mean it in some kind of like, he's got no legs kind of thing. And apologies if you have no legs. I mean, that's not cool. But he's not one of those people where I like the TikToks where I'm like, has that guy got 3 arms? He's so special. And I want all of us to remember it sometimes. You know? I think that's fair. Speaking of special, tomorrow night the Oilers play the Nashville Predators, and a guy who's likely going to get himself on the board, whether they like it or not, is Leon Draisaitl. In the 2 games against the Nashville Predators so far this season, Draisaitl has 4 points. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists in the 2 games. So 4 points over 2 games. In his career, Leon Draisaitl has played 28 games against the Nashville Predators. He has, do you know what the number is? Do you know? In 28 games against the Nashville Predators, Leon Draisaitl, that button wasn't supposed to go that. It was the right button, but it was the wrong time. He has 27 goals in 28 games. Ridiculous. That is ridiculous. It's stupid. So if you're a betting man, which I am, maybe you might want to put a shekel or 2 down on Leon Draisaitl anytime goal, because chances are he's probably going to get one, you know? Chances are 27 goals in 28 games. It doesn't even make sense. How does he have this much success against the Nashville Predators?
I can tell you how he has that much success. One day, Leon and I were hanging out at Tootsie's. We were enjoying ourselves. We were having sodas. And he said, Satan, I'd love to be the best player of all time. And I said, Leon, I can give you that. But you're going to have to give me your soul. I originally wanted to ask for his handsomeness, but he couldn't give it up, and I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. Satan's not much of a looker at the end of the day, but boy, do I have a charming personality. I'm persuasive, you know? But I couldn't handle it, so I said, Leon, you can be the best player of all time against the Nashville Predators if you give me your soul. And he said, did you just say against the Nashville Predators? I want to be the best player of all time against all teams. I said, yep, the Nashville Predators. And he goes, all right, I'll do it.
So there's an alternate theory. There's an alternate theory. What happened? Speaking about Nashville Predators, former Predator Viktor Arvidsson is said to be a 50-50 to play tomorrow at Rogers Place against Nashville. Chris Knobloch said it is not a serious injury it's a maintenance day, he said. He is 50-50 for tomorrow. It's nothing too serious, said Knobloch. But if you know Viktor Arvidsson's injury history, that doesn't mean you're probably not concerned anyway. He only played 18 games last year. Was banged up, missed most of the first half, most of the season, then came back towards the end and played the playoffs for LA. But he wasn't really the same guy, and it admittedly makes me nervous. So what's the plan? I quote Chris Knobloch. He says, I haven't decided that. I'm going to talk to Stan Bowman and we'll decide. I'm comfortable calling somebody up and having 12 forwards, or we can definitely go 11-7. That's something we've talked about heading into the season, doing a little bit more than we did last year. Of course, if you remember the Jay Woodcroft days, you remember 11-7 and well, which is interesting that Chris Knobloch said that because yesterday, November 12th, marked the 1-year anniversary of when he replaced Jay Woodcroft behind the bench. Coincidentally, his first win as Oilers head coach came against the New York Islanders, and his anniversary win as a coach of the Edmonton Oilers came against the New York Islanders. That's one of those cosmic coincidences that I just love. Nobody else cares about this shit, but I do. I think it's fun. So I want to give a big shout out to Chris Knobloch and a big shout out to Jay Woodcroft because he still gets to spend the Oilers' money. And I think that that's something that we don't really acknowledge enough. He got paid $3 million this year to do whatever it is that he's doing. Playing Baccarat, I imagine. And if you've been around long enough on this podcast as a listener, you know that this next button was the Jay Woodcroft song. I don't get to play that anymore. So I was looking for an excuse to play it, and today's the day. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a very fine podcast I do here. Looking at the rumor mill, we are starting to inch our way into the NHL season. We are just over a month in now. And that means the rumor mill started to kick up around the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, everybody knows we need a defenseman. And I thought it was hilarious that digging into the internet this past week, we found a couple of names attached to the Oilers as potential targets that don't really make much sense to me. Well, some of them do. Most of them don't. Could Cody Ceci, Rasmus Ristolainen, Ivan Provorov, or Cam Fowler be targets for the Edmonton Oilers? Question mark. Cody Ceci, no. Look, as much as I love bringing a guy back over and over again, Peter Nedved, Dennis Grebishkov, I love it. I think it's funny. Drake Kajula this year, Mike Comrie. There's a bunch of guys that have come back for a second tour of duty, and it's always fun for some reason. I have no reason why I think so. I just think it is. I don't know that any of those defensemen outside of Ivan Provorov fit the bill. Ivan Provorov is a left-handed defenseman, but he does play right-handed, and the only reason I'm thinking about him is because of Tyler Yaremchuk. Tyler Yaremchuk has got this idea in my head that it might be a good idea for the Oilers to go chase Ivan Provorov. He is having some of his money retained by Philly when he got traded to Columbus. If Columbus holds another 50, all of a sudden he's a $2-point-something million player. That could make sense. Rasmus Ristolainen, he's the new Drew Stafford. If you've been an Oilers fan long enough, you remember when our boy Jim Matheson used to always float out Drew Stafford as an option for the Oilers. Every single time. Every time the Oilers need a defenseman, it's always Rasmus Ristolainen whose name comes up. I don't even get it. Why? Because tall? Because tall goes a long way in the NHL, though, I've noticed. Not just lately in my life. I've noticed that. Anyway, if you want the full report, you can go read that at OilersNation.com. Zach wrote about it. Another cool article I want to plug in the news is Lachlan Irvine. He's actually a writer at Canucks Army, but I sent him on an errand. I said, hey, man, the Bakersfield Condors are playing in Abbotsford tonight. Would you go there and write about Matt Savoy and Noah Philp? Matt Savoy, obviously, they traded Ryan McLeod to get him. That was a big trade in the summer. Just to check in. How you doing? How's life as an Oilers in the Oilers organization? 2, Noah Philp just played his first NHL games, got his first NHL point. He's the layup. Everybody loved that kid after training camp. Why wouldn't we want to talk to him? So if you go to OilersNation.com, those 2 guys gave an exclusive interview to Lachlan, and I thought he did a really great job. So I wanted to plug that on the podcast because I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. He's a Canucks fan, but he put on his Oilers hat and he went to the Condors game and he nailed it. So shout out to you, Lach. I really like what you did there. The other news I want to talk about is how could we not talk about Oilers Nation and the Nation Network and Daily Faceoff locking in Jeff Merrick? If you've been a hockey fan in this country for any length of time, you know Jeff Merrick. He's been on your TV, in your podcast rotation, in your ear holes for decades. And this past year, when we got the opportunity to talk to him after he moved on from Sportsnet, it was one of those ones where it's like, we got to figure out how we can do this. You know, we got to figure out how we can bolster the roster. Like, we've already got Frank Saravalli in the tent. He's the best insider, in my opinion. So to have him and now Jeff Merrick both doing content at dailyfaceoff.com is fantastic. Jeff's new podcast / show, The Sheet, comes out on December 2nd. You can go subscribe to the feeds now wherever you get your podcast from. You can go over to the Daily Face-Off YouTube page and subscribe there. That's where the live show is going to happen. It's going to be a daily show. Merrick's going to talk about the NHL. He's going to talk about junior. He's going to talk about the PWHL. He's going to have guest hosts. He's going to have nation personalities on the show. I'm going to make him come on this show. And I want to talk to him. I want to know. What? You? Really? Like when we first did our first intro call, he was so nice about what the Nation Network is. And for me, being around since 2008, I was just like, are you talking about us? Is there another Nation Network that I don't know about? Did I get fired somehow? Did somebody let me go? Waz, is this your doing? But the reality is we made a big move and we made a big splash, and we're super excited about the way he's going to start his content off. And we're already excited to see him popping around Nation Network shows. He was on my boy Quads. He was with Quads this morning for Canucks Conversation, or today with Canucks Conversation.
He sure was. And let me tell you, Jeff Merrick knows a lot of things about everything. I was so excited. I was so nervous. All I wanted to do is ask him Jeff questions. Hey, I've been around a long time. You're the new guy. Suck it, new guy. Ha ha ha.
I didn't
do that. Suck it, new guy.
Just kidding. We're super excited about it. So Jeff Merrick is obviously a huge, huge addition to our roster. And I hope you guys enjoy some of the content that's coming. I don't want to blow it. I don't want to blow what he's got planned. But some of the ideas are really funny. They just are. They just are. And finally, we'll wrap up the news for our friends at Star Mechanical with a look at the schedule. As we always do, tomorrow night, the Oilers play the Nashville Predators, then they hit the road. By the time we record the next episode, a week from now, 4 games in the next week. It's a busy schedule. Predators on Thursday. That's at Rogers Place. Then they hit the road at Toronto on Saturday. You got to win that game. I fucking hate when the Oilers play the Leafs and they end up losing. It's so annoying. On the flip side, there's nothing better than beating Toronto in Toronto. Watching their fans leave all sad makes me happy. Then they are in Montreal on Monday for the first half of a back-to-back set. They are in Ottawa on Tuesday. And then we'll have a fresh show coming up next weekend. And that's where we're going to wrap up the news for our friends at Star Mechanical. Star Mechanical. Visit them. StarMechanical.ca. Schedule an appointment and let them help you keep your home running smoothly. They offer 24/7 emergency services, and their team of tradespeople are highly skilled and accommodating for all their customers. You got a major brand in your house, they're going to come in and service it, and they're going to help you keep that baby smooth, man. Yes, sir.
You are listening to Better Late Than Never, so that means... I don't know, you press play at some point. But anyway, like and subscribe, tell your friends. If you don't think your friends are going to be interested, tell them fucking twice.
The Big Question, presented by Oodle Noodle.
The Big Question is presented by Oodle Noodle. This is one where I just throw it out on social and I read your feedback. I'm always interested in what goes on in your mind, and today's question was a fun one for me. So, extra hungry? Feeling hangry? Now's the time for the Mega Box. Between 4 and 8 p.m. at any location, you can get $3 off a Mega Box. What's a Mega Box? Self-explanatory, no? But when you go in there and get something to eat, make sure you enter the draw for free nudes for a year. It's Nudes Miss at Oodle Noodle, and they want you to have free Oodle Noodle for a year. Offer is available in-store only. Go on in and get yourself a ballot. Enter to win some free noodles. The question this week was a simple one, but man, did I get a lot of great answers that I'm going to read through a bunch of these here. The question for our friends at Oodle Noodle was just, Connor McDavid is 1 point away from 1,000 in his career. What is your favorite goal he's scored that you can remember? Simple enough, right? You'd think so. And it's amazing how a lot of the answers were the same, which makes sense because so many of the goals that he scored, some of the more iconic ones, are the ones that we think about and talk about and see over and over again. And when you've scored 340 regular season goals in his career and 37 more in the playoffs, there's room for interpretation. So I'm going to jump over to my Twitter account, and I'm going to start reading some of these, starting off with my boy Waz. The goal against Columbus in his rookie year when he came back from injury. I went to that game, and Rexall instantly became electric when he scored it. It's the loudest I've heard a building after a goal in the regular season ever. Totally buy that. We were doing a nation watch party that night, and the place went ballistic when he scored that goal. It was so much fun. Captain Felton, the reaction Connor had after returning through the Rangers is a core memory for me. Even he shocked himself. Playoffs, double OT winner versus Dallas in game 1 also lands. I was at that game. Tyler, Jay, Liam, and I, that was a tender embrace after that double OT win in game 1 in Dallas. We hugged for a long time. High-fived, hugged, popped a Zen in, made our way. AJ, the Oily fan, says the goal against the Rangers, even he couldn't believe he scored it. The New York Rangers goal. A lot of people saying the New York Rangers goal. That one comes in from Ryan. Mike says there's so many. I mostly enjoy the ones when it looks like he surprises himself. But if I had to pick one, it's when he broke Morgan Riley's ankles. We all remember that one in Toronto. He danced Morgan Riley and then he did the finger wag at the crowd. The best. Nick, you know Nick from the voicemail, 2022 OT winner versus the Flames, or Game 1 double OT winner versus the Stars. James says, my favorite Connor goal was Game 5 overtime winner in the playoffs a couple of years ago that eliminated the godless Flames. Davis, he sent me a video including the reaction in the crowd for the video. Kevin Lowe retirement night, the game-tying goal versus the Rangers. Rogers Place was unhinged. MVP chants echoed through downtown Edmonton for hours after for a game in November. And again, he sent me a video from the reaction at Rogers Place, and it looked so much fun. I wish I was there. Lyle says Game 6 versus Dallas. That's the one when he dangled in a phone booth. You remember it well from this past playoff run. That was one of those goals where not only did he score a ridiculous goal, he walked Miro Heiskanen. Doesn't make sense. That is a quality D-man there. Again, we're working through the Oodle Noodle big question. Marcel says 2022 OT series winner versus the Flames. Regular season was against Columbus. Rookie year, return from the injury. I was in the old barn to see it happen. Love that old barn. Adam says, my favorite, even though it's less flashy than the highlight reels, is when he ended the Flames season in OT. And how could he not? And the call on that one... hang on, I'm going to see if I can find it really quick, because the call on that one is the one that I think about the most. So hang on. I know I've got it saved in my phone here somewhere. Let's see here. Should I play a little music or can I find it? Oh, here we go.
Nurse steps up and flips it back into the Flame zone. 5 minutes into overtime in Game 5, and McDavid scores! Game winner, series winner for Connor McDavid.
The game winner, series winner part sticks in my head, lives there rent free. I love it. Tommy said, dang, I also got to chime in on the Toronto goal when he undressed Riley with a move no one had ever seen from him before. And I think he said it after something like, we like playing here, but we love leaving. It was great. That's one of those moments where Rick talked about that on Oilers Nation Radio yesterday. Gary says, everyone is going to choose the obvious one, so I'll go off the board with a goal versus Nashville last year when he got tripped up and kept control of the puck, popped up after a spin back on his skates and scored. And because I'm greedy, the BOA playoff clincher, the passion on his face as he was sliding. Frazier said for the raw talent and skill, the goal against the Rangers. A lot of votes for the goal against the Rangers. For consequence, goal in Game 6 against the Stars in the latest playoff run. Again, I was at that game with Captain Felton. That was one of those nights I'll never forget. Disgruntled Yoda. He's upset about something. The force is dragging him down, I guess. The goal against Columbus. First game to see McDavid play. Got to the game late. Usher asked us to wait to go to our seats, which were behind the Columbus net. Watching the play, and then McDavid pulled that move off to score was unreal. Jay says, opening night, October 2nd, 2019. Bucket list game. I made the trip from Ontario. Oh, shit, I lost it. Hang on. Oh, there we go. I made the trip from Ontario and had second row right behind the net. McDavid split 2 defenders and shelved it on my side of the net for the game winner with 5 minutes left. Couldn't have asked for a more perfect ending. Mitchell says, got to be game 5 OT winner against the Flames. I was in the Saddle Dome for that one. Lots of chirps flying that evening. Tommy says, I want to chime in on the Rangers goal, but by the look on his face and his celly, I think that might be his own favorite. But the best part was Jack's call. He let sink for 17 seconds. I timed it. Then Jack says, what can you say? With his voice cracking like a 14-year-old. That call from Jack. Well, to be honest, calls from Jack make any goal better. Dallas Jive and Juke versus Dallas in Game 6. That one's coming from McJesus is the name. Brendan Steele says all the important ones seem to be taken. So I'll go for the one last year against Nashville where he got tripped up in the spinorama on his knees. William says I have to go with the one against Dallas in the playoffs last year just because he made a Norris caliber D-man and Miro Heiskanen look like a beer leaguer, which is kind of what I said too. It's unbelievable. Jeremy goes that goal in Toronto where he gets the puck and turns. You can see he's picking his route. He slow plays it over the blue line and turns Riley inside out, dekes the goaltender before pulling it back and putting it top shelf. Big stage play by a big stage player. Mike Clark says, thank you. This should have been a bracket, but it's the goal against Columbus. Hockey Goth says Rangers. You know the one. And there you go. El Colagrande said when he eliminated the Flames. So thank you everybody for chiming in on that. It's always fun to hear what everybody's favorite goal is, right? He does so many things, so many amazing plays that sometimes we forget. I think about one from 2017 when they went to the playoffs for the first time, and Sammy Vatanen was trailing him up along the boards to the blue line. Connor just did a quick button turn, dove back into the zone, and then just absolutely roofed it top shelf. That's one of those goals where it's just like, it wasn't one of the prettiest plays he's ever had because he's had so many. But it was one of the goals I remember most. Thinking assists now, there was one against Ottawa, whether it was last year or the year before. The years of brilliance all kind of bleed together. He dangles the entire team, spinorama, whoop-de-doo, and then all of a sudden he finds Ryan McLeod trailing up and nobody saw McLeod coming. It was one of the nicest assists you'll ever see. The point here is, with 1 point away from 1,000, please enjoy it. Enjoy these things. Reading your guys' favorite goals has been fun to me. I love seeing what you guys think. I love seeing what you guys believe to be his best goal. Everybody's got a different one for different reasons. You know? All of them are different. I think about that one that got mentioned, the double OT goal in Dallas. I was there, so I think about that one a lot. I think about the game 2 against Vancouver in the second round, where Connor was clearly banged up at the time, but he came in on a breakaway, tied the game. The Oilers went on to win in overtime. Like, that was a huge goal in the moment, a huge goal. There's so many of those that are going to pop up. If you want to keep talking about this for weeks down the line, please leave voicemails. I would love to hear about them. I will never get tired of talking about Connor McDavid goals, just like I'll never get tired about spending $3 less than you should on a mega box between 4 and 8 p.m. Get on into a Noodle Year U. Enter a ballot for free nudes for a year, courtesy of Nudesmas. Nudesmas! Come on. It's great.
You're listening to Better Lait Than Never with Bagged Milk. I would suggest you like and subscribe right now. Otherwise, the puppy gets it.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
For Trilogy Oilfield Rentals, it is time for the Righteous Sack Beating. Of course, they are an established provider of tools and expertise across multiple oilfield disciplines, specializing in rentals, pipe recovery, abandonments, and completions. Currently, they maintain full-time operating units in Provost, Weyburn, and Kindersley. What kind of tools do they got?
Rental tools, fishing tools, coil tools, drilling tools, mills and bits, completion tools, any tool for any job. TrilogyRentals.ca.
I want to start this off by saying thank you to everybody that reached out about my RSB last week when I was melting down about one of my neighbors and the off-leash dog. As it turns out, a lot of you have experienced something similar. So thank you to those who reached out. After I was done recording the podcast, I was like, oh, I sounded pretty mad there, huh? Well, I was mad, but I was like, I sounded pretty mad here. I wonder if that was too much. But based on the reaction I got, it didn't seem like too much, especially from the fellow dog owners in the group. So shout out to all of you that reached out. I don't really have anything bothering me at the moment other than my old shitty back. It's embarrassing. I have no reason to be this sore just waking up and living my life. What the fuck happened to me while I was sleeping? Do you think my missus hurt me? She already didn't support my Costco hot dog bid I want to do. She might have hurt me in my sleep. It might have happened. But anyway, I guess getting older is annoying. It sucks. Nobody told me. Nobody prepared me for this. Sometimes you just wake up and you're sore. What the fuck? Sucks, man. It sucks. But the good news is, just because I don't have a whole lot bothering me doesn't mean that there's not things on your mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the button and I'm going to press play on an RSB I've not listened to until right now.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
Righto, hold on to your hats because I don't know if you'd believe this, but I've got an RSB this week. So
Duke's complaining a lot lately. Anybody else know that? Notice that? Can't just be me. Dukes, you okay? You need a hug? I'll send you a virtual hug.
Tomorrow, so Saturday, the electricity provider for my area, because there's only one, because it's the middle of fucking nowhere, they've got a planned outage for maintenance work. So, like, they're thinking roughly 4 hours, whatever, right in the middle of the day. And A, it's a fucking Saturday, but B, it's also going to be like 42 degrees. So, I don't know. It gets hot here. That's just part of living. It's the same way it gets cold for you guys. Like, I get it. But, like, mate, what the fuck am I going to do for 4 hours when there's no electricity and it's hot as fuck? Like, the dogs are going to be am I just going to drive around the car for a few hours so I can get some
That's cool.
air conditioning? Like,
loser laps. I like it.
What the fuck am I meant to do with my life? Like, I can't even sit out on the back deck because it gets the morning sun and it's going to be fucking even hotter out there. I'll melt. So, like, I don't know, Ergon Energy, you dumb fucks, because I'm sure you're listening. Sort your scheduling out, because it's fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Danger Suede, stop writing emails to complain about me.
That reminds me of my boy Rick from ONR. On last Friday, he was not on Oilers Nation Radio because he was having some kind of power thing done on his block. So his entire block was essentially powerless. That's not the funny part. The funny part for me was the night before, he told me that at 9 p.m. the night before, and you got to think, like, Edmonton right now, 9 p.m., pitch black. It is pitch black at 9 p.m. here in Edmonton now. So he had no power from 9 p.m. on would have been Thursday night up to some point in the afternoon on Friday. So he had to be in his house because they were doing work unless he wanted electricians going in and out of his house. So nobody wants that when you're not home. The funny part to me, though, is that on Thursday night in the pitch black, Rick just sat there and watched a movie on his iPad. No candles lit, nothing. He goes, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So I just sat there and watched a movie on my iPad. And there's just something about Rick sitting in a chair in the pitch black apartment with the glow of his iPad lighting his face up that makes me laugh. I don't know. Could just be me. Could just be me. Anyway, utility people, be better, I guess. We got another righteous sack beating coming in from Ari. So I'm going to give Ari the button.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
And I'm going to press Ari's RSB. Here we go.
I'll make this quick. righteous sack beating for skin infections, or the technical term skin abscess.
Ew. I've got an RSB with you talking about your gross disease, whatever you're going to say you have. Yeah.
Because I got one right near my tailbone. And it was so painful that I had to go to the U of A emergency department in the middle of the night just to get my back drained of fluid.
I think Ari is telling us he scratches his bum a lot. I think he's telling us he scratches his bum a lot and he does it quite aggressively. How do you get an infection in that area? Ari, we need to have a conversation.
So I couldn't train, I couldn't sit down or walk properly. I had to reschedule all my midterm exams this week. Freaking just lost the last 7 days recovering from minor surgery. And yeah, stupid, really stupid. But you know what? Shout out to the U of A resident physicians, though. I've already spent enough time in the hospital as it is in my life, so they made it really fast.
Well, I don't know. I guess, you know what? I'm sorry for making fun of your infection. That was rude of me. And Satan does not speak for both of us. He speaks only for himself. And I'm sure you were not aggressively scratching your ass. Trilogy, I hope you enjoy this plug. This is what you paid for. You know it.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy. It's another week on Better Late Than Never. It's another week of Nick crying in the voicemail, throwing temper tantrums. He is a baby, so small and frail. Does he need a bottle? Does he need to be burped? Does he need a diaper change? Cause why God is he such a little baby? Why God is he always crying? Will someone please give him shaken baby syndrome?
It's so stupid. Fuck. What have I done? The voicemail is brought to you by Nation Beer. The Nation Network is proud to partner with Odd Company Brewing to bring you an all-new Nation Beer called Nation Beer Everyday Lager. It's perfect for the next big game or your next go-to lager. Find it at Odd Company Brewing at either of their 2 Edmonton locations or on Liquor Connect. That'll show you all the liquor stores in the area that do sell it. If the liquor store near you does not sell it, please ask them what they're doing with their lives. Make better choices, liquor stores of Edmonton. Odd Company Brewing. It is delicious. As soon as I wrap this, I'm going to go have 2 of them because I've earned it. I've earned it. We don't got a whole lot going on in the voicemail today, but we do got plenty. I'm going to see if the beefing continues. Lately, the beef in the voicemail has been driving me forward. Of course, you know, as a fan of hip-hop, beef sells records. I hope you guys are all having fun with this and not taking it too personally. But if you are, you know, maybe set one out. This one is just called Bouchard to the Moon. I can only imagine what this is going to be.
Okay, season is Joe over. Okay, it's not actually, but my God, this team. Send Bouchard to the fucking moon. The fact that we're going to pay this guy a lot of money is
we are a lot.
Ticking me off because that guy's been just abysmal this season. Just puck watching on that Las Vegas goal. Oh, yes, the second last because it was an empty net. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. This team cannot afford to have to go on another 16 game heater because that doesn't just happen. You know, it feels different. It doesn't feel good. And I don't know. I really don't know.
Evan Bouchard, we talked about him a lot on ON Radio yesterday. He's one of those guys where if he's not playing with confidence, he's not playing well. And he's always going to have warts on the defensive side of his game. He always is. And we come to accept it because when he's doing great things at the other end, as he did last night against the Islanders, he had a 3-point night. That's the Bouchard we love. But he needs to feel good about his game to get there. And just like we saw last year, it takes him a minute to get going sometimes. And I think that with Bouchard, getting some confidence is going to go a long way. So hopefully a night like last night is going to be the start of that. But you're not the only one who feels annoyed about where his game's at. You are definitely not alone on that one. Anonymous caller, who be you?
You know what I hate? So obviously,
you again.
when you go to a restaurant, you tip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everywhere wants you to tip these days.
I don't like that, by the way. I've developed a rule, and it's not my own rule. I saw it on TikTok, and I'm stealing it. If I'm standing while I order, I'm not tipping you. Does that make sense? Went Subway the other day. You stand when you order. They're like, what? Why? Like, and the tip options are egregious. That's another problem. Like, they flip it around. They're like, here you go. 18, 25, or 30% tip. What the fuck? Subway already got really expensive somewhere along the line. Old man yell at cloud moment here, but like, it's probably double the price it was when I was in high school. Now, admittedly, I'm almost 40, and that was a minute ago. But the point remains the same.
So I just went to a fast food place, and the lady was like, hands me over the debit machine. She's like, it's just gonna ask you a couple questions, with a big smile on her face. Like, even though I stood the whole time, I went and ordered my donair, and I didn't, you're not serving it to me like a server at a restaurant, but, when you put that little fucking smile on your face and say, oh, it's just gonna ask you a couple questions, like, bitch, shut up. Like,
you need to settle down.
Like, I get it, but I just fucking hate when they say it like that. I'd rather them say, it's just gonna ask you if you want a tip. Like, don't say, oh, it's just gonna ask you a couple questions. Like, shut up.
That child has the darkness in him, let me tell you that.
Breaking news. As I record this, have just been given a promo code. Nationgear.ca. If you use the promo code BaggedMilk10, BaggedMilk10, all one word. If you go to Nation Gear and use the promo code BaggedMilk10, this code provides a 10% discount on all items in our store. That is events, travel, and fundraisers is not included. But like clothing, you want a new hat? Bag Milk 10. You want a new tee? Bag Milk 10. You want a hoodie? Bag Milk 10. I've got new BLTN gear coming, and they are slick. Bag Milk 10 will get you 10% off of everything at checkout, provided that it is not an event, travel, or a fundraiser for charity. For every sale made using my code, you'll just be my friend. So Bag Milk 10 on the Nation Gear store, you will get 10% off your order. That's very exciting news. Go get yourself something to wear and make yourself look very, very handsome. Next up, we got Nick in the voicemail. Nick, what do you got to say for our friends at Odd Company?
Excuse me. So, Kyle the Embalmer accused me of accusing him of sending that hate message about Dukes. I don't, like, Kyle, like, when the supposed accusation happened, I was in a university lecture in Lethbridge, Alberta, so nowhere fucking near Greta downtown Yegg. Bag Milk, you can confirm, we've never met.
We have not.
Because if we had met, you'd remember me. You'd be like, oh yeah, that Nick guy. Real handsome. I bet that guy gets a lot of pussy.
No, probably not.
But yeah, I don't know, Kyle, I don't know why you accused me.
Is there another Nick? I assume there's another Nick that he's talking about here, right? It's gotta be another Nick.
I didn't fucking say anything about this, and I'm just taking all kinds of shit here. But regardless, I actually have a theory about who accused Kyle the Embalmer. It's got to be so. We know they were at the Nation vacation, or the Nation party, I should say. Better late than never, listener. I think it was Christopher Palmer. I don't know shit about Christopher Palmer. I know he hit Gavin the intern in the face with a ball. That's it. I'm just guessing based on pure speculation that it was Christopher Palmer. So I don't know if you can confirm that, but am I right? Am I wrong?
You're wrong. It wasn't Chris Palmer. Chris Palmer is definitely, like, he's a hardcore Nation citizen. There's no doubt about it. But it was not him. It was not Chris Palmer. It was not Chris Palmer. You understand? You can make accusations all you want, Nick, and I'm going to allow it. But I will also tell you when you're wrong. You guys are never going to get it, by the way. Let me just tell you that this is somebody who I don't even know that they've left a voicemail before now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know that they have. So maybe they're not. But it is not Chris Palmer. I can tell you that much right now. Okay? Next voicemail is anonymous. Who be you?
On a side note, I
Ari.
remembered last week how you said that nobody would care to listen or that nobody cares that you were having a big life week last week or something like that. Well, obviously that's not true because I would. And considering
buddy.
how many people leave voicemails talking about our nonsense and how you listen to it, I'm sure some of those people would be more than happy to listen as well. So just reminding you.
That's actually a lovely note, Ari. Sometimes I do forget that, admittedly. I am, sometimes I need to be reminded of that. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much, Ari. I did. So I had a big life week. So if you weren't listening to last week's episode, essentially I just had I put out cryptic tweets and a cryptic story on Instagram. I was just having a weird week, and I actually hate when people do that. And then when I did it, Ari called me out on it, and I was just like, fuck, he's right, because I hate when people do that. I hate when they do that, and I did it. Damn it.
Don't make Satan chastise you again. Be better.
I will.
I think you're doing great.
Thanks, Quads. Rival Chad is in on the Odd Company voicemail. Rival Chad.
I'm just listening to After Dark right now, and Bordsy brought up a good point. I don't know if anybody else has said this before, but it's never hit me this way until now. He said that we beat our division rivals, Vancouver Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I would actually say, yeah, that's probably our division rivals now.
Right
Calgary,
now, for sure.
Even though they're doing better than us right now, I think they're gonna come back down. Yeah, to me, like playing Vancouver feels like a bigger deal than playing Calgary right now.
Totally.
So in my opinion, I would say that's actually our division rival right now. I mean, Calgary's always going to be the Battle of Alberta, but it just doesn't hit the same way anymore. Doesn't feel the same. There's no intensity without Tkachuk. And I mean, Cassian was a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, we talked about this on Oilers Nation Radio. Actually, Tyler brought it up. I think it was at the Delicious Debate, or maybe it was just later on in the podcast yesterday. But he said, which team do you enjoy watching the Oilers beat the most? And my answer without hesitation was the Canucks right now. Because as much as the Battle of Alberta is always, like you said, Chad, it's always going to be the Battle of Alberta. It's always going to be the thing that Calgary and Edmonton, we get together with Springfield and Shelbyville. We're always going to have that back and forth. But right now, it's kind of lost its luster in the sense that it's been pretty one-sided over the last couple of years, right? The playoff battle in the second round in 2022, that was like intense. You could feel it. The Calgary Flames actually reached out to us and said, please do not do a bus trip down here, because they were concerned about like scraps in the stands and all that kind of stuff. None of that ever happened. Like, people held their shit together pretty well as far as I know. But that was a thing that happened. That was a real thing that happened. And then last year we went to Vancouver, and that was the most hostile arena I've ever been in. Without a question. I thought before that it was LA. LA fans can be spicy. But it was nothing like Vancouver. Like, we talked about, I think it was on Real Life. Maybe it was on I don't remember. I do too many podcasts. We talked about going into overtime in game 2. The 4 of us, we had a huddle. Well, 5 of us with Captain Felton. We had a huddle because we thought, okay, if the Canucks score in overtime, let's bolt as soon as that happens. They're going to celebrate. We're going to be out of the arena before they even have a chance to know what happened. 2, if the Oilers win, let's just stay in our seats and watch everybody clear out, and then we'll leave. And that's what we did. People were screaming in our faces. I remember after game 1, when the Oilers blew that 3-goal lead and lost, people were throwing shit on the street. It was nuts. So to the point of the voicemail, yeah, the divisional rival right now is definitely the Vancouver Canucks. Or I would also say the Vegas Golden Knights, because they're kind of like got an evil empire vibe going on, and just beating them makes you feel like a good guy. And that's Tyler's line from yesterday, and I just kind of like it, so I'm going to steal it. But that also makes sense. But pure joy of watching them beat the Canucks outweighs pretty much everything for me right now. Now, if the Oilers win in Toronto on Saturday, that's going to be right up there. But watching the arena in Vancouver empty out more than 10 minutes early last week was as good as it gets. Does not get better. I'm super pumped about it. So yeah, the Oilers beat the Flames more often than not these days. And it's kind of like, It's also funny that Flames fans think about the Oilers way more than we think about them. Have you ever seen that John Hamm meme? I guarantee it. It's like, something, I don't think about you at all. You know, that's kind of how it is with us and the Flames. Same with Vancouver. I don't think about Canucks fans at all. But if you look at my mentions on a regular basis, there's a lot of them in there for literally no reason.
It's because we love you. You come on Canucks Conversation and all the people get happy. Whether you want to know it or not, Canucks fans love bag milk. That's why I'm always asking you to go on.
It's true. It's true. When I go, I think Canucks fans actually like me going on Quad's show because I'm not afraid to make fun of the Oilers. I'm not one of those Oilers fans that it's just like when they're sucking ass that I don't say that they're sucking ass. You know what I mean? Anyway, something to think about. My man Waz is checking in on the Odd Company voicemail. Waz, what do you guys say?
Bag milk, I don't know what it is, but in fantasy football, whenever I add a player to my team, he seems to get injured within 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence recently acquired him, injured. Tua drafted him, injured. What's his name?
The Waz jinx is real. All you need to know is the Waz jinx is real.
The guy I got from the Saints, injured. I can go on forever. I acquire a player or draft him, injured. Am I a curse? Like, who do I need to talk to exercise these demons? Do you know?
The Waz jinx is
should
real.
I cheer for the Vikings? Is this what I have to do?
Waz? No. He sends me a note on Sunday when the Vikings game was a complete mess. They beat the Jaguars, but they should have absolutely dummied them. Sam Darnold was a double agent, threw 3 picks. It was a whole thing. So anyway, the Vikings still ended up winning because their defense was dialed in, and the Jaguars, as I mentioned, are awful. But on offense, they were all over the Jaguars, and had it not been for Sam Darnold throwing 3 red zone interceptions, the game would have been a blowout. So at 2:06 p.m., Waz texts me, and he says, wow, the Vikings seem like a fun team to cheer for. And my reply was, no. And then he goes, well, that was quick. So Waz, no. I don't want you on Vikings Nation. I don't want you there because I believe in the Waz jinx. And you've also cheered for half of the NFL. You told me you were a Dolphins fan at the beginning of the season. What happened to that? You dropped Tua from your fantasy football roster. Rick scooped him up. You quit on him early. That's something that's on you, Waz. That's something that's on you. So no, we don't welcome you at Vikings Nation. No, we don't. No, we don't. Just say no to Waz. Captain Felton, you're up.
Hey, BM. Captain here. Just in response to your question on real life regarding how I obtained tickets to the press box.
Yeah.
So my dad actually won an auction for the charity, the Greater Vancouver Food Bank, back in August. So we won those tickets and, was able to cash in and use them for Saturday's game, which was an absolute blast. So, again, I just wanted to say thank you for being open to even letting me write an article. I'm glad it turned out way better than expected. So, anyways, thanks again. Have a good week. And man, is it good to beat those Canucks.
See, we all love beating the Canucks. And if you haven't read Captain Felton's perspective from the press box, go read that. It's fun. So he pitched me this idea. And Captain, I hope you weren't offended by saying it was better than it turned out. Or it was better than I expected. I hope you weren't offended by it. But like, he pitched this idea to me, and I know I've known Captain for a handful of years now, and great dude, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. So when he pitched the idea, I said yes immediately, not really thinking of what I did. Because generally speaking, I don't want just random people submitting articles for Oilers Nation, I'm probably not going to post them. It's happened in the past and I've had to say no, but for Captain, I said yes without thinking about it too much. So as the game was going along, I got nervous. I was just like, what happens if his article sucks and I have to be like, I can't actually post this? Thankfully, he crushed it. So Captain Felton, his OilersNation.com debut went very well. And I will also tell you, Captain, that the response to the article was also strong. The numbers were legit. And I just wanted to thank you for doing that. It was a fun perspective of how you got there. And when I said it was better than I expected, I mean it in the sense that I just I didn't know what to expect. But you crushed it, man. You really, really did. You crushed it. Next up, we got Kyle the Embalmer. What's up?
ABM. So, Ari, I don't really know what I did to you that you would start talking about me and how apparently I don't make any sense, or I don't know. But the reality is I can't beef this week in the voicemail. I'm in SoCal, and I just don't care. So maybe next week I'll jump back into beefs with all of you. Till then, go Oilers.
Happy birthday, Kyle, by the way, belated. He's at Disneyland with his family right now. I see another one from Kyle here. That's only 5 seconds long. So, Kyle, you're back.
Oh, and also stop whining, Nick.
Okay. He didn't want to beef, and then all of a sudden he takes shots at Nick on his way out. You're at the happiest place on earth, Kyle. You're the happiest place on earth. This is not the time for beef. Ben, bring some levity to the voicemail, please.
Hey, Big Milk. Question for you.
This is definitely not Ben. Definitely not Ben at all. That is Nick, lest anyone believe that Ben has aged probably close to a decade since the last voicemail.
Excuse me. So Rick, you know Rick, Oilers Nation Radio, The Pint.
I do.
Juanese World. Mm-hmm. Is Rick just really stupid, or does he say a lot of...
What? You're just coming in and choosing violence. I'm going to allow it, but no, Rick is not stupid. He's been a great friend of mine for well over a decade.
Things he says ironically, because I used to think he just said a lot of it ironically, but now I'm starting to think he might actually believe a lot of what he says.
Give me an example.
Like, I get it. You guys talk for a living. Everyone's going to have bad takes from time to time.
Not me, never.
Rick, it feels like every other take he makes is garbage, especially when it comes to players. Like, I get he's friends with these guys, but, still, I'm friends with a bunch of electricians. I know they're good at their jobs, but I don't think they're the fucking best thing to have to electricity since Nikola Tesla, which, if you listen to the way Rick talks about someone like, I don't know, Vinny Desharnais, you'd think Vinny Desharnais was Chris Chelios, Nick Lidstrom, and Bobby Orr rolled up into one, and not a guy who can barely crack the lineup in Vancouver, which Vinny Desharnais is. So, I know Rick is just friends with these guys, but, and he sounds dumb when he talks about them sometimes. Yeah. Thanks.
Well,
also, fuck you, Kyle the Embalmer. Fuck you, Kyle.
Well, that worked out nicely. Kyle told Nick to stop whining. Nick tells Kyle to fuck himself. But Nick, you're a smart kid, and you answered your own question 3 times in the same voicemail. Don't make me call you a moron. Why does Rick not take shots at the people that he's friends with? Rick knows a bunch of the players. Vinny Desharnais was a guy that Rick loved, on a personal level. Why would he not bury the guy? Why is it always fun when Rick's not on the podcast and we get to shit on people and be like, Rick, thoughts? Well, he's not there, so he's not going to disagree. That's the shtick, man. That's the shtick. You don't get to be where Rick is at in his life by burying your contacts. Does that make sense? It should make sense. You answered your own question. You answered it 3 times, in fact. We are going back to Kyle the Embalmer. He's checking in from Disneyland again in the Odd Company voicemail. Kyle, thoughts?
Hey, Big Milk. This is a little bit late, but I want to thank Ari.
Now it's Nick again, pretending to be Kyle. He's pretended to be first of all, Nick, you pretended to be a child. Ben is a straight up child. And now you're pretending to be a rival, a voicemail rival? I don't know what you got going on here, pal.
Something he said last week. Thank you, Ari, for pointing out the fact that I am better than Kyle the Embalmer. I mean, Ari said it. That random reviewer said it. Kyle the Embalmer, I am better than you. So you can call me a dipshit. Which, hey, buddy, I would love to spend a full year in Denver because I'm a Broncos fan, and unlike you, I don't abandon my teams. So go enjoy embalming people or firefighting or whatever the hell you do. Just know, I am better than you. I own you, buddy.
I mean, that's debatable. Okay. Jesus. Can we not be personal? Like, it's funny to take shots at each other's voicemails, but like, let's not get personal here, squad. I mean, beef sells records. I'm going to allow it anyway, but I'm just saying, like, come on. We're going to have a nation event and people from BLTN listeners are going to show up and there's going to be a scrap. And I'm just going to watch it happen. They're going to be like, aren't you going to get in the middle of that? I'm like, nope. Picture, post. That's what's going to happen. All right. Final voicemail for the folks at Odd Company Brewing. It is from my cousin Brendan. Cousin Brendan, what do you got to say?
Hey, Bag Milk, cousin Brendan here.
Hello.
I just wanted to call and throw my hat into the ring for ranking the podcast.
Sure, please.
I think.
If you don't know, we've been ranking the podcast best to worst. We're talking about the podcast I'm on, by the way. Oilers Nation Every Day is technically a podcast, but is more of a live show. So depending on where your podcast line is drawn, you can include that or you can omit it. Same with pre-gaming with Boardsy and After Dark. But cousin Brendan, please give me your official rankings. Thank you.
This one is my favorite.
Thank you.
Me and my girlfriend listen to it just about every Wednesday when it comes out.
Listen, this guy's got a girlfriend. Good for you. My head, you're still 10 years old. Now you got a girlfriend? Fuck me. Good for you, man.
Next would have to be Real Life. I like the stories that come out on that one. Some interesting takes.
Mm-hmm.
A little more free-flowing. And then probably my next one's Nation Radio. That one's pretty good. A lot of Oilers talk. Just get straight down to business.
Yep.
Same with probably my next favorite would be After Dark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That one's a good listen to. Recaps all the games nice.
Yep. Boardsy does a good job.
And then Every Day with Tyler. That one's good too. But yeah, you know Tyler. Anyway, I am burning through these podcasts right now because I am a student. Yeah, so if you could release more episodes, I would very much appreciate that. Thanks.
There's talk about it for sure. I get bugged by sales all the time. You should probably do 2 week. You should probably do 2 week. You should probably do 2 week. And I love doing the emergency podcast because that's just a 10-minute riff. I don't really have to have a format to it. I just kind of say whatever I want to say. We haven't really had any breaking news. Not lately. Is it breaking news that Viktor Arvidsson's 50-50 to play tomorrow? Probably not. If I had a podcast anyway, I just did it. Should I do one tomorrow after 1,000 points from McDavid? Maybe. Depends what he gets. Like if it's just a second assist or something, I don't know. But if he scores a highlight reel goal, coast to coast, makes the goalie look stupid, leaves his pants on the ice, I'd watch that. I'd podcast about that. So cousin Brendan, while I appreciate you pandering to me, there is talk of a second episode, and I've done plenty of voicemail episodes when there's a lot going on in the voicemail, but we'll see. I also don't want them to be overly boring. Once a week is kind of like a little treat, if that makes sense. The voicemail is presented by Odd Company Brewing, proud partner of the Nation Network with the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager. Go get one, provided that you are a legal drinking age. Please enjoy responsibly. Please enjoy during the game. Please enjoy after the game. Please enjoy just on a random Wednesday when you've got nothing to do. You can get it at both Odd Company locations here in Edmonton, or go to Liquor Connect and find a liquor store near you that sells it. If they don't sell it, ask why not. And in the meantime, go to nationgear.ca, use the promo code BAGGEDMILK10. BAGGEDMILK10. That is all one word. Get 10% off your order, provided that is not a trip or a fundraiser or anything like that. Just everything else. Hat, hoodie, t-shirt. Go get yourself a little discount. Tell them Bag Milk sent you. Bag Milk 10 is the promo code. And in the meantime, I have to ask myself, once again, why won't Tyler kiss me?
Ty, why won't you kiss me? Why won't you kiss me on the mouth? Ty,